Hello, hello. How is everybody? I'm seeing some thumbs up. Awesome. If you don't mind, I'm going to give it just a minute. We had a few more registrants, and I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to trickle in. I anticipate some folks registering with the expectation that they would get the recording, which is perfectly fine. But the benefit you have being here is A, I like you more now. And B, if you have any questions, you can ask those and we'll walk through. I want it to be really interactive, so don't hesitate to give me a specific use case. We want to make sure that this works really well for your school. There we go. That's sort of what I was expecting to see. Quite a few more. Awesome. Camille, if you don't mind, maybe just keep a passive eye on the chat and let me know if I'm going too fast or skipping over anybody. I'm going to dive right into it, just out of respect for everybody's time. The first thing I want to make sure of is that we're all seeing the same thing. So I have the free CRM open here, and on the left-hand side, my expectation is that you and I have the same menu. So if you don't mind, jump in and make sure that your menu looks like my menu. Reading from top to bottom, you should see dashboard, opportunities, marketing. When I open marketing, I have 3 sub-options: trigger links, form builder, survey builder, contacts. Contacts also has 3 sub-options. And then the Neato website builder, members area, help center, and settings. Please chat me if you don't see that, and we will make sure to get you set up. Our CRM system has a pretty advanced user rights administration on the back end, so we just want to make sure that you see everything you're supposed to see. With that said, I'm going to do some very quick settings overview, and then we'll dive into how to use the CRM. I want to discuss both technically how to use the CRM, and then also maybe more valuable philosophically how to use the CRM to help track leads. Inside the settings area, you should only have 1 menu option, and this is where you can go to update your information and then also update your password. If you're not sure of what your password is, or you lose your password, if you go to the app.neatomarketing.com, there's a forgot password feature, which I think is how most people ended up accessing the site in the first place. But if you ever want to play with your password, it lives here. Also, in a sort of general housekeeping vein, if you look here in the top right-hand corner, you'll see 2 things. 1, if you want to log out, you can do so here. And 2, you'll notice that your notification tab lives here. And you don't have any notifications now because nothing's happened just yet. But as actions take place in your CRM, this is where you can go to see a feed of your notification list. And I've got a question here from Anu. I followed your instructions to download the free CRM, but I never got the password email after visiting the app. I did send you an email, but didn't hear back. I'm so sorry I didn't hear back. Let me know what email you sent that to. What you'll need to do, Anu, is when you go to the app.neatomarketing, oh, it's not going to let me do that. Hold on. Let me pull up a different, there we go. So if you go to app.neatomarketing.com, and it sounds like you already did this, but you will see this link here, forgot password. And when you submit this, make sure to use the email that you used to register. And Patricia's saying exactly what I was going to say, which is could possibly end up in your spam folder. And if you still don't see it, then I'm going to drop Meisel's email here, and you can reach out to Meisel directly, who can reset your password on our end. But please try this process first if you don't mind. I think that's the easiest way to go about it. I mentioned this is where you go log out. This is where our notifications land. Now let's go back to the dashboard. Kim's asking, can 2 of us log in at a time? Yes, technically, you can log in at the same time with another person, but you risk overwrite. And so it's actually a dangerous thing to do. So I wouldn't recommend it, because if 2 people are working on the same contact record, you'll have some potential data conflicts. And so you may see, 1 person being logged out or pushed out or whatever. So I'd try to stick to just 1 login at a time. On our higher end version, there's multiple user capabilities, but to be honest, I don't know that you need that on the outset to make this work. The very first place I'd like to start, and really the foundation of this entire tool, is the contacts section. So if you're following along, you'll get more out of this. It's also recorded though, so don't worry if it's hard to watch and follow at the same time. Selecting contacts and smart lists. This is a really cool feature because the smart list section lets you filter according to the information that you've saved with your prospects. This is critically important. And this is how we're going to filter by, you know, the program of enrollment, what they're interested in, the number of children, age of those children, etc. You get to define the tags that you use and 100% of the nomenclature. But first, let's talk about how to just get our contacts into the CRM. To add contacts individually, we do it here. So I'll go here and add David Copperfield, and you'll notice that it does phone number validation. So if I were to just type in a random phone number, it's not going to let me continue, which is kind of cool, I think. And DND means do not contact. It's not hyper relevant for this facet of the CRM because you can't email out of the CRM, but for future use, if you ever do choose to upgrade, you could enable this setting to make sure that anybody who you add to the list that you don't want to receive emails for whatever reason never accidentally gets dropped into any email campaigns. If you want to add an image or a headshot, you can here, not necessary, and then you click save. Now, the very first limitation of our CRM is one that I'll discuss at this point, which is there's no ability to have parent-child relationships inside of the CRM. A lot of databases have that function. Well, I'll back up. A lot of higher-end databases have that function. This is, the CRM is pretty basic from a functionality standpoint, which I actually like. I think is really helpful. It makes it a lot easier. But what that means is if you're tracking parent contacts and child contacts, you'll need to create 2 independent contact records, and then you can choose how you decide to connect them. You can do that in the tags or in the notes, but you're not going to be able to tether them dynamically, which is really important. It's just a really important note. I consider this to be a marketing tool, not necessarily a school management tool. So in my soft opinion, we're tracking parent information here because the parent is your quote unquote, your customer. And then a school management application, of course, will be able to track a child's information, but that's not really what this application is meant for, what it's meant to be used. Refreshing, the other thing that I wanted to introduce is, you'll notice that David now shows up. You have the ability to import contacts in bulk. So I just showed you how to add a contact individually if you wanted to add them one at a time. This is, you know, somebody just happened to drop into your lap and we need to get them into the CRM. The other opportunity you have is to import your contacts. You import contacts using a CSV file. CSV stands for comma separated value. And really it's just a funky name for like an Excel file or a Google Sheet. So here's a basic CSV file that I put together 4 seconds before this call started. And you'll notice I have my columns labeled. So here's first name, last name, email. And then I can add as many people as I want to, which is nice. And then the other thing that I can do is typically I can export a CSV file from most applications. So if you're in a school management application, if you're using MailChimp, if you're using Constant Contact, more often than not, you're able to get most of your contacts out via the CSV file. And the trick is, if you're using Excel, is to come over here, select Save As, and make sure that Save As type is CSV. Interestingly, sometimes an Excel workbook will work, but CSV tends to be much cleaner. It's a simpler file type. I don't need to do that since I've already done it. What I'll do here though, and let's test and hope that it doesn't break on me, is I'm gonna upload the CSV so you can see the steps that it walks through. So I'll select my file and we're gonna come here to sample CSV. And immediately I'm really impressed with the way the application does this particular piece of the process. It says document field. So this is the field that it's finding the document, and then it's mapping the field that you have in your CRM. If you have special or customized fields in your CRM, it might not identify it. So let's say that the document field, let's say that you had a bunch of columns, you know, date of enrollment, program of interest, etc., and those fields aren't available in your CRM. You're not going to have anything to map them to. So again, going back to just how simple this utility is, we're capturing sort of general pedigree information, but some of the additional information might not be accessible. On our paid version, you do have the ability to create custom fields. I honestly don't think you need that though. So I'm not trying to ascend anybody to paid. I want to let you know what's possible and what's not. I think right now, just stick with the free version and make sure that it works for you before deciding, oh, okay, we need to go upgrade. This will show you a preview of the field mapping. So let me go back. I just said, hey, you know what? This is awesome. This is exactly what I want. Let's say for a minute that it mismaps one of the fields for whatever reason. I can come in here and say, oh, you know what? That's actually not first name, that's full name. Or, you know, choose a different option from the dropdown. When I click continue, it says, okay, well, this is what it's going to look like. You gave us these 3 fields. Here's the information that you have uploaded. I can say, yeah, I think that looks good. Let's look at another sample. It'll give me another sample. And when I choose to continue, it's going to give me a couple of options here. So if an existing contact is in the spreadsheet, I can do a few things. And you may have this happen. I can choose to update the data, but only for empty fields. And this is what we typically recommend. So if I have name, email, address in the CRM, but I don't have phone number, then all that's going to happen is the CRM is going to update the phone number. Or you can choose to update the data across the board. All of the fields in your CSV end up appending to this contact record, which means that it overwrites information. This can be a little bit dangerous. And don't modify means ignore the sheet. I'm going to go with the recommended approach. Select continue. Now tagging. This is where everybody's going to get into trouble. And I know that because it's where I get into trouble. And a small soundbite, I use the CRM for both of our agencies, Solutions 8, which is my quote unquote day job, and then also Needle Marketing, which is our passion project. Both rely on this application. That's how much I love it. Tagging is what's going to allow you to keep track of who people are and where they come from. So in this particular instance, what I'd like to do, and you can have an unlimited amount of tags added to every user. So I might say something like import 7.22.2020. And what I just did is I just reminded myself these people were imported on this date, because I might need to know that. Now you might say, hey, that's not necessary. Another issue that you could run into is, let's say that you're uploading multiple CSVs. This could be the CSV of my infant program parents. Or it could be the CSV of people that are with Tracy, who's one of my guides. Whatever the situation is, the nice thing about tags is there's a limitless number of options. I like using what I call nested tagging. So nested tagging, you'll begin to develop a system after you use the CRM. So it's okay for this to be a work in progress. But nested tagging uses categories and subcategories. So for categories and subcategories, I think one example I'll give you is if somebody's a new lead and they were a referral, that's a nested tag. And the reason I like that is because somebody may also be a new lead, but they may be from Facebook, for example. Or somebody can be a returning student and they're coming from the infant program. Or somebody can be a returning student who's coming from the toddler program. So when you nest your tags, what it does is it allows you to kind of build a system of nomenclature that organizes your contacts and then helps you find your contacts based off of who they are, how they've engaged, how it is that you want to filter them. So I'm going to go back here and say import 7.22.20. Once you create a tag, it's available for subsequent contacts. So you'll notice that it starts to pop up. And now I'm going to select done. If you have a really great big list, it could take some time to upload. Don't worry. It's going to make it into the CRM. This is giving me a batch import ID. I'm going to remove that filter. And now that I've removed that filter, it's going to give me all of the contacts. Now, one thing that you'll notice that I think is kind of cool is David Copperfield existed prior to the upload. So you can upload contacts in addition to who you have. You're not going to overwrite any of your contacts. I'm going to pause here and see if I've lost anybody or if anybody has any questions. That was just an excuse for a water break. Once you have your contacts, each contact has the ability to track additional information inside of the contact record. So just to remind you where we are, from the main menu, you go to Contacts and Smart Lists, and all of your contacts live here. And you're already seeing some really cool information. We've got our name, phone number, email, the date they were created, last activity, which could be really important. And then this will start to list all the tags that have been applied. And we can actually change our columns here. So if you want to see more information, if I wanted to see an address, for instance, or postal code could be important depending on, if you have multiple locations. That's the type of thing that we could add, and then it will add additional contacts at a glance. But let's look at our contacts on an individual basis. I'm going to click on Tom here. And when I open up Tom, you'll notice I have two major panes. So there's this pane here, and then this pane there. And I'm going to go over this left-hand view first. Under contact, you'll see that we can track more information from Tom. So let's say that I end up getting a phone number from him. I can enter his phone number. Date of birth might not be ultra relevant for parents. I could understand why you'd want to use this for students, so feel free. All of these fields are defaults inside of the CRM. Again, some of these might not be necessarily relevant. The contact source lets you know where they came from. So I might say that, this is a Google Ads. source or their referral. And then if they're a referral, I can say from who, you know, my source for this family over. I can always add tags, and I can remove tags too. One thing I'd strongly encourage, and something that doesn't necessarily occur to people, is tags can be functional. So I might say pending tour, or actually a better way to do that would be tour status, using the nested tags we talked about, pending. And so now if I wanted to go into my contacts and filter by everybody whose tour status is pending, I get to go tour status pending. And then once Tom comes in and takes his tour, I can remove that contact and then come in here and say tour status complete. And you start to see how this is really going to help you organize your contacts in a way that makes this document functional. So we want this to be at least one step up from an Excel doc. We want this to be something that you can use. It's sort of like a working, living entity that's helping you with your admissions process. This contact type isn't really applicable here. It's more applicable in the marketing automation facet, which we're not going to even talk about. So just assume that people are leads for the short term. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. DND, again, this is if you don't want anybody to receive any communication, which won't be applicable for our purposes, but it's good that you know that it lives. The opportunities section we're going to get to, there's an opportunities pane here, which lets you see where people are in your admissions process. And this will tell you how many opportunities this parent has. Now, this is my solution for the inability to have parent-child relationships and contacts, by the way. My recommendation to everybody is the parent is the contact record. And then each child that they're bringing becomes one opportunity. And I realize that that's probably not the best semantic architecture for us to have, because we don't want to view children as opportunities, but that's just the way that the CRM is contextualizing this, which is, it's helpful to kind of have those connected. So we're not going to nest contact records. We're going to nest opportunities under contact records, and each of those opportunities will be representative of one child. Even if the children are in the same program. So if they had twins, you'd still want two separate opportunities. And I'll explain more about that later. But you can see all the opportunities are nested under this contact. And then the date that the contact is added. Now, there are 3 tabs here, you'll notice. So here's our contact information. This is really helpful too, because you should never, again, ask like, oh my goodness, what's, you know, the Joneses family's phone number or email address. This is a really good place where everybody can go to access this information. General info dives just a little bit deeper. It's, you know, their physical address, and you can choose to replace some of these fields. If you're not going to use website, you could use something else. And then lastly is additional info. Additional info, these are custom fields that we've created specifically for this free CRM. So message is just pedigree information that you want to make sure that you're housing, any programs that they've completed, their current program, programs of interest. And again, the free version of the CRM, you're not able to customize the fields. So I'd ask that you try to make what's here work, but I am receptive to people lobbing something over the fence saying, hey, it would be really helpful to have this new field. And then we can talk about how much that applies. It would need to be something that's ubiquitously accessible to all schools using the free CRM, because if I change it here, it impacts every school that's on the system. So we have to be a little bit careful about how we tweak this. That said, on the right-hand side here, you have activity is not going to be relevant because we're not necessarily tracking activity just yet, but I'll share with you where it comes into play. Tasks. This is really helpful. If you need to do something, this might be follow up with a phone call. I like to list my tasks in plain English because otherwise you end up with this long-running task list, and it becomes difficult from the title to understand exactly what it is that we need to do. Your task description, again, can be whatever you want. Right now, your only assignment is to yourself, of course, and then when is this task due? And what's nice is when I save this task, it will show up in my dashboard now. And when I log in, I'm going to see, and I might not see it right away because, oh, there it is. So you'll see from the home page, let's say of your CRM, all of your tasks. And you can filter here by who they're assigned to, their current status, all completed or pending, and then sort by due date, which is really helpful. I don't think that this is a traditional task management application. This shouldn't replace, you know, like Asana or something that's meant for project management, but it's really great when you're dealing with admissions tasks specifically. You know, did you send out the admissions document? Follow up on the enrollment question. You know, have we received shot records? You know your school better than we do. It looks like we have some requests for Patricia's asking, can you add adolescent or middle school and high school? It looks like Tamiko is seconding that. Yes, actually. Maisel, will you please make a note? I think that those are both relevant and things that we could add to the CRM. And I also want to point out that I really appreciate that input, incidentally. I hope nobody felt like I was being combative and saying that it's a little restrictive. So thank you for that, both of you. In addition to the tasks, you can take notes. I would recommend keeping this message section for the primary, son has a peanut allergy type. Everybody needs to know this note. And then your long running notes happen here. So it could be Mrs. Jones came in and toured, had these questions. And then I'm just creating a list so you can sort of see the way that the formatting ends up functioning. It's date stamped. It lets you know who left the note. And then I can come in and edit this note later. This is, I think, really helpful when you're working to build relationships with people. It's hard to track all 50 some odd folks that might be in your parent pipeline. What this lets you do is remind yourself like, oh, they just had water damage on their house yesterday, which is why they were late to the tour. Let's ask about that next time they come in. And it's, those little subtle comments and notes and follow-ups that help cement the fact that you've been listening and paying attention. If they have specific concerns or needs, this is the place to put those notes. And then review it. What's really nice is this lives forever. So as parents are ascending through your process, you'll always have this information. So you can go back and say, hey, I know you're really concerned about math specifically. Have we addressed those concerns? That type of thing. You can page through your prospects here. So if I wanted to move from Tom to Qasim to John, I can do so here with this little arrow here on the top. But that's the contact section in a nutshell. I'd also like to show you just briefly how to filter. So if I go to more filters here, this gets a little dangerous in terms of how robust it is. So first of all, you'll notice that the import batch filter is applied, which is why we're not seeing David Copperfield. So I'm going to remove that. If you ever don't see contacts that you think you should see, go check your filters and you might see that you have filters applied. So what I can do here is I can filter by any field that's currently in the CRM, which is a lot. So what program are you interested in? I can filter by those fields. I can also, and this is my favorite way to filter, I can filter by tag. So I can say, show me everybody whose tag is or is not, and that's also really important too. You can say, I need to see everybody who's not in my toddler program because I'm going to email everybody except the toddlers because I don't know, a specific use case. So the is or is not, or somebody who doesn't have something assigned. But I'm going to say everybody who is my import 722. And you can see there they are. Or everybody who's not. And then it will be, sorry, is not import 722. And then it's just David Copperfield. So you can filter by is and isn't on tags. You can also filter by any other field that you want or need. So source, show me all my referrals. Just as an example, show me all my Facebook leads, show me everybody in my pipeline, or show me everybody in a specific pipeline stage. And that's going to become more relevant when we go over pipelines. But the filtering ends up being really powerful. And I think this alone, in my soft opinion, is worth the adoption of this CRM. The ability to track who these people are and where they are in a way that allows you to contextualize your communication with them is worth the cost of admission. A couple of questions. Kim's asking, pipeline stage and status available for parent tracking? Yes, ma'am. And I'll share with you how that works in just a moment. And Patricia's asking, is there a limited amount of contacts? No. There's unlimited contacts in the free version of the CRM. Where the limitation happens in the paid version is when you start sending emails. And the reason for that is because we pay for usage. And so I think right now it's limited to 2,000, I think it's 2,000 active contacts per month. So you can send up to 2,000 people per month. You can actually have as many people as you want in here. So if you had 10,000 contacts, that's okay, as long as we're not sending emails. And that's what the paid version is in our second plan, which is $97 a month. But again, right now I'd stick to the free version. Even if you think you're going to send, let's make sure that the free version works. And the free version, by the way, is going to stay free forever. There's no ascension here and there's no obligation. This is a full solution. So you're going to be able to make this work without ever having to upgrade, which is something that we're pretty excited about. It can help a lot of schools. From the dashboard here. So if I'm like, oh, okay, let me just go grab these people and all these folks signed up for our open house. So, I might say event, open house, and this is the open house on August 1st. Bam. And then you'll notice again with nested tagging, here's all my events. here are all my open houses that live in the events, and this is the open house that happened on August 1st. And now I get to add that tag to these two contacts. And now when I go in and filter by that tag, they're going to show up. You'll notice it might not be in the tag section because there's only so many that it can list. But if we go check out Tom, you'll see events, open houses. Any questions about the contact section before I move on? Sorry, another excuse for water. The next thing I'd like to review is the opportunities section because it relates perfectly to the contact section. So if we open up opportunities here, you're going to see the admissions pipeline. The free version of the CRM only has one pipeline. In subsequent versions, you can create multiple, but I think one is enough for the purposes of this exercise, which is let's track where parents are in terms of your admissions process. So the way to add a new opportunity is to click here and you choose the contact first. So I'm gonna go get Tom. And if I start typing Tom, then it pre-populates all of his information and all of his tags, which is really cool. Oh, and Meisel's letting me know that we actually have some upper plane members here. So if you're an upper plane member, some of the additional functionality I'm mentioning is available to you. Thank you for that, Meisel. That's really helpful. So it pre-populates with all of Tom's information. So now you're not doing redundant work. So we know who Tom is and we have all of the tags added to his contact record. You can add additional tags here that relate to this opportunity. The company name, I think for our purposes, I'd love to replace with a family name. And this just starts to help when you're looking to consolidate prospects under one umbrella, let's say. Not that this is going to make it much easier to track. But now that we have the family, now we're going to name the opportunity. And this is where I think we can begin nesting children under parents as opportunity contacts. So the opportunity here, what I would do is we would say, let's say Sammy Jones. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can actually play the nesting game here too, because this is the title that you're going to see. The opportunity name is going to be, oh, excuse me. What's his name? Tom Jones, sorry. I'm trying to talk and type at the same time. I'm not good at it. So it would be Tom Jones and then nested Sammy Jones. So we know Tom is the parent contact and then Sammy is the child contact. You don't have to do it that way. You could just leave it as Sammy, but I'll show you why I might encourage this type of nesting here in just a moment. This shows you the pipeline that they're in, the pipeline stage. We'll say it's a new parent inquiry. The current status, which will come into play here in just a moment. Who owns it, which right now is going to be you. And then the source, always, 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 always track your sources. I can't be more bullish on this point. You want to know where your prospects are coming from. And what you'll find is there's common denominators in the people that end up actually enrolling. You might be getting way more leads from Yelp than you do from Google Ads, but Google Ads is producing more of your enrollments, and there's no way for you to know that unless you track your data. And then track your referrals. So with referrals, I would say who referred them in addition to, just the fact that they're referrals. So a couple of other notes is you still have the opportunity to add appointments, tasks, and notes just like you do in the contact. I'm going to select save. And now you'll see that this contact record lands in new parent inquiry. And this is why I like the parent's name added to the opportunity name. Because if I just had the child's name, then it's tough for me to see who this child belongs to. And because I'm communicating with the parent, now I have to open this every single time I want to communicate with this parent. So feel free to come up with your own system of nomenclature. Right now, that I think is the best practice until we come up with another one. If Tom has another child, then we get to come back here and do the exact same thing. So we'll go find Tom, and we'll say Tom has Ronan. And oh, it's saying this opportunity already exists in this pipeline. What did I do incorrectly here? Sorry, y'all, this is a little embarrassing. I'm going to go to school on why this is happening because I played with this just beforehand and it was allowing me to replicate opportunities. Meisel, can you check my settings in the CRM and make sure I have a dual So let me share with everybody what it is that I'm doing and what I'm looking at. Here we go. This is what I need. Allow duplicate opportunity. And if I refresh, will that save? And so we might need to go double check everybody's app and make sure that duplicate opportunity is saved and accessible. So now, having done that, let's refresh. This is my Bill Gates moment, by the way. You remember when he presented his new operating system and it crashed as he was presenting? Here we go. Bam. So we have 2 children housed under a parent, and that actually worked. Thank goodness. What's really cool about this opportunities pane is you can add tasks directly from here. So if you're looking, and this could end up being the primary view for your school. Anytime that you jump into the CRM, when I'm looking at my CRM, I go straight to the opportunities. But what's nice is you just get to look over it and you can say, okay, here's Tom with both of his boys. And, oh, you know what? I really need to follow up on this thing, or I really need to do whatever it ends up being. So just clicking on that task allows me to add a task quickly. The other thing that's really cool is I now can drag and drop. So this is maybe my favorite part about the CRM is as Tom, he scheduled his tours. So I know that Tom is scheduled for both Sammy and Ronan, or maybe they're touring independently. There's 2 different programs or 2 different locations and they have to tour. That's why we want to split these up, because each child is going to be treated independently based upon their specific needs. So, let's say that the tour is complete, and then I'm going to walk through each stage. The tour is complete. After tour complete, you'll notice the stages that we don't have are the transition stages because they're implied. So from tour complete, the implication is they submitted an application. And here, what I would be doing is I'd be assigning myself a task to follow up on application. And incidentally, if you don't mind me overstepping my bounds a little bit, I don't mean to insert myself in your process, but I think that parents should leave the tour with an application in hand or with an understanding of how to apply, assuming you think that they're mission appropriate. It's important that they know that you feel that they're a fit. There's a lot of fear among parents, like, oh my goodness, am I good enough to go here? And it's really helpful for them to hear the words, hey, I think you're a wonderful fit. We'd love to help. I think your child's gonna fit in great here. Here's how you apply. Once they've applied, application submitted, moves to application accepted, which moves to enrollment agreement signed, which moves to intake complete. And every step is an opportunity for you to track their progress, assign tasks if necessary, and then closed lets us know how this ended. So if they closed and they enrolled, we drag them off into this column. If the opportunity is closed but they did not enroll, then we drag them into our lost column. And there's actually a filtering here. You'll notice every single time I pick up one of these panes, it gives me this option here at the bottom, lost, abandoned, or won. So abandoned, let's just use abandoned as an example. Let's say that Tom, for whatever reason, stops answering my phone calls or my emails, or just doesn't come in. They never show up to the tour, they never follow up again. After a while, you're not gonna want them muddying up your opportunity pipeline, so you might come in here and drag them into abandoned. And you'll notice that he goes away. But I can always come over here and say, show me all my abandoned prospects. This is really helpful and important if you're ever low on a specific program and you need to go boost admissions. What I'd recommend doing is jumping into the lost and abandoned and following up and just say, hey, how's it going? I know you toured, we weren't necessarily the right fit. I'd love to understand more about why. I actually have an opening in my toddler program right now. I'd love to discuss the opportunity with you. Chances are you're dealing with a parent, if they didn't go with Montessori school, they have a fair bit of buyer's remorse. And so this is a good opportunity to go in and just identify everybody who might be worth following up with. And then you can follow up with, or excuse me, you can mark people as one. So here's somebody who closed, enrolled, and then I'm gonna drag them to one. And now when I only look at my open opportunities, I don't have to sift through all those. These opportunities, these columns will get very long. So in as much as you can keep them clean, you probably want to. You'll also notice that they'll start to taper as the columns move forward. So this is gonna be your longest column more than likely. The rule here, and this is where you need a little bit of advocacy, everybody who's working at the school needs to know that opportunities need to be added to the CRM. So if there's a referral, and oftentimes you'll see some of the referrals are coming straight to your guide because the parents have great relationships with your guide, depending on how it is that you're managing communication. But referrals, inbound leads, filling out forms, downloading lead magnets. A lead is anybody who's provided you with contact information. So they don't have to have called and said, hey, Kim, I'm really interested in going to your school. Instead, if they just have downloaded your white paper, that to me is a lead. That's a parent inquiry, and that's somebody who's worth following up with. So make sure that you're adding them here, and note that there's some additional filter options that aren't exceptionally relevant for this particular implementation, but you can play around with them if you'd like to. I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions about opportunities before I move to the surprise that we have for everybody. Cool. Am I tracking okay? Is this of value? Am I wasting everybody's time? Awesome. I'm getting some thumbs up. Patricia, is there a privacy policy? Nito has a privacy policy that we've shared, actually. We had this question. Camille, I think, did we already publish that to the site, or is it getting published? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes, it's on the website now in the footer of needlemarketing.com.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. So if you go to needlemarketing.com, our privacy policy can be found here. And it basically says we don't share anything for any reason at all. And you can actually, if you'd like to, you can steal this privacy policy if you'd like to post something like this on your site. We have a templated privacy policy for Montessori schools that's in our members area that you can download for free. We talked about contacts, we talked about opportunities. Now, that was actually all that we promised when we offered the free CRM. However, when we started to look at how functional the CRM was, we wanted people to really be able to use it. And the rate limiting step to using it is to getting people into the CRM. So we have decided, and you've probably already seen this, we've decided to give another feature away, again, absolutely free, no obligation. I hope I'm not sounding too much like the guy on late night TV who sells sponges or whatever, what's his name? Billy Mays. We added our form builder. And the reason we did this is because most of your contacts, most of the people that you are going to be adding to the CRM, if they're not calling you, they're filling out a form online. So there's, filling out a general inquiry form, a contact us form, they might be downloading something. So what you can do here, and there are some limitations that are worth noting, because the form builder ties very closely in with other pieces of functionality. And so you'll see things that are referenced that, that sadly aren't available to you, but the form builder by itself, standalone, is very robust. And I'm actually really, really proud of it. So in marketing, click form builder, and you'll notice that we've got a general inquiry form that you can use. Or if you want to, you can come in here and you can create a new custom form. And the form building, by the way, is super easy. So I can say, oh, you know what I want? First name, I want last name, I want phone number, I want email. I don't want Nito's logo there. So I'm going to go to styles, scroll down and remove agency branding. You can play with CSS if you want to, by the way, font, colors, all that good stuff. I'm not good at that, so I'm not going to do it. Moving things in line, it kind of cleans this up a little bit. I sort of prefer it to be, this is more mobile friendly in my mind. If somebody's on a mobile device, you don't necessarily want the fields next to each other because that's going to squeeze in a lot. And then show label, you'll notice the label above the field goes away, but it's still in the field. So there's a lot of options that you have here. You can name our form. Let's say that we had a parent social. You could create a custom form just for your parent social and then decide what to do when somebody fills out this form. This is the cool part. So you could go to a URL on your website and say, nitomarketing.com/thank-you-social. This allows you to deliver lead magnets through the CRM. Now, they're not going to receive the lead magnet via email. What you would do is you would have the lead magnet on your website, and then you would redirect to it. So I'll give you an example. We'll go to Bergamo, and here's tuition request. So let's say you said what Matt's saying here, tuition will vary by campus. Oh, I think it's in his admissions. Let me just go there, that's faster. If somebody clicks on tuition rate and fills out this form, the tuition is sent to them via email. That's the more advanced way to do it. The easy way to kind of cheat this is when somebody fills out this form, the redirect page is a page on your website that houses the tuition information. You get to do that here. So you get to create forms for every single thing that you might want to offer to a parent. So, there's a bunch of resources we have on our site. A lot of them are free right now. One of my favorite white papers of all time is the 6 Reasons Montessori Might Work for Your School. But it's really critically important that you have what we call lead magnets, but it's just content. It's really valuable content available to parents that they can download. And it's critical because it establishes you as a thought leader, and it also gives you the opportunity to follow up with them later. So create your form, choose what happens. If you don't want to get fancy, you can just deliver a message. Thank you so much. We will be in touch. Whatever it ends up being. Now that I've updated my form fields, and then another kind of cool little ninja trick here is if you don't see the fields that you want, you can create them. So I can add a custom field here saying, I don't know, what kind of coffee do you like? And now that I've saved that, that lives inside of the CRM forever. Mysol, will you please make a note for us to delete that so I don't forget? But I get to drag and drop that form field here. And when I click on any of these individual form fields, I can choose to make them required. So let's say that first name is required because you have to have somebody's first name to email them. That's a CAN-SPAM Act law. You don't have to have their last name. Phone number is not required, but it's nice to have. And we have to know your coffee because it's a coffee mixer social. Once you're done and you've fully customized your form, this is where there's a little bit of coding involved, but hopefully not anything that's going to scare anybody off. Select Integrate Form here. And it's going to give you two options. The first option is the better option. This is to embed your form on a site. Now, if you're using WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, this is generally relatively easy to do. They give you the opportunity to embed HTML, and you copy and paste this code into the section that they give you, and now your form shows up where you want it. If you don't want to do that or don't have the wherewithal to do that, you can just choose a link. And so now that I have this link, I can go to the link and you'll see here's everything. And when I fill it out, here's the message, and the form works perfectly. So it'll work right out of the way, straight out of the box, using the link. But if you can embed it on your page, that's far, I think, far more preferable because it just looks better. It looks a little bit cleaner. And Patricia's asking for administrator, does Nito have access use rights to the data in our CRM? We do have access to it. There's no way around that because we have to be able to see your CRM in order to help administrate. But we don't use any of the data, no ma'am, which is also in our privacy policy. So none of the data is anything that we would export or sell, for example. Will form responses be automatically added merged in the CRM as context? Yes, that's the coolest part. So that's why I wanted everybody to have forms. That's why we chose to add it. Because let's say I add this form to my site, and let's add a brand new person. It's going to be Mysol. So Mysol, I don't know your phone number, Mysol, it'll be my phone number. And when I fill out Mysol's information, and then I go to the contacts, you'll notice I now have Mysol in here, immediately added with all the information that he provided. And if I jump in here and go to additional info, I know what kind of coffee Mysol likes, ta-da, which is pretty cool. So if you add these forms to your site, and more to the point, not just add, replace your other forms. So if you have, we've got nitosite.com, which Camille's actually helping us customize. If you've got a form, like here's the parent request form, and this is actually the CRM form, but replace the parent request form with the CRM form. And then I've got a schedule a tour section. You might put one of your forms on the front of it so the thank you page becomes schedule a tour, so you now get to capture that information. Request information, that form gets replaced. Get tuition rates, this form gets replaced. So anytime you have a form on your site, replace it with a form from our CRM, and all of your contact information is going to funnel straight into the CRM, which is going to make it so much easier for you to manage all of your contacts. And anytime a contact lands, you now get to jump in, and this is where your job gets a little manual. On the paid version of the CRM, some of this is automated. On the free version of the CRM, you have to now add this as an opportunity. So somebody downloads a lead magnet, jump in and add them as an opportunity. Somebody requests information or schedules a tour, jump in and add them an opportunity. If you're interested in the free version, there's a lot that we automate that makes that happen naturally. But again, it's not necessary. Make sure this works for you first, because if it doesn't work manually, then somebody said something funny. I actually think it was Bill Gates, since I'm going to quote him twice today. He said that automation added to an inefficient system just amplifies the inefficiency. So there's no reason to automate or send anything until you know that this system works for you. And Patricia's asking, oh, that was the same question, sorry. About the merge though, you can merge contacts inside of this CRM. So if you end up having two contacts at the same time, there's a process for merging. It's not easy, but there's a tutorial on it in our help area. Incidentally, while I'm on that topic, if you visit our help section, which is here, you can just go to Help Center. You'll notice that we've got a ton of tutorials. So here are all tutorials on the CRM. We've got a whole category dedicated solely to the CRM. And so if you run into any issues, this is a great place to start. Not all of these features are available in the free version, but the features that are available are covered. So if you have, here's a question about smart lists or the form builder. And the videos are very robust and teach you, they dive very deep. So it's really worth pursuing and looking over. Any questions or any input? Camille, how am I doing here? Anything that you'd add?
No, not at this point. I think you covered a lot of it here.
Awesome. My hope is, and I actually just did a call today with Heidi over at Crystal Lake Montessori, and she started using her CRM not long ago, I think a month or two ago. And she was talking about the 50 odd people, prospects in her pipeline, which made me so happy to hear, because it's not the number, it's just the fact that she's able to know exactly where every single prospect is and what they need to do in order to move them on to the next stage. And that's a really helpful paradigm thing, incidentally, is anytime I'm looking at my pipeline, my question, and the question to ask yourself is, what do I need to do to get Mr. Jones here? So it really simplifies the sales perspective. It lets you know my next step for this prospect, because it's daunting if you're looking at everything that needs to happen in order to enroll a student. That's daunting, but you get to look at every single one of them and say, okay, my only job is to move them from here to here. And if I can't have that, then I'm probably going to abandon this prospect. By the way, if a prospect ever comes back, I can move them right back over to open and click update. There is a deeper dive training for paid members, Patricia. That's in the sections that I just showed you. And we're actually about to roll out a product I'm really excited about that includes a website template done for you and the CRM tied together. And then we're going to train on exactly how to update and customize that. So stay tuned. Hillary's saying thanks. Thank you, Hillary. Grateful to you. So just to recap, the dashboard is going to give you all of your tasks. The contacts is where we go to manage all of our lists. Manual actions and contact requests aren't really that relevant for the free version, so just ignore them. There's no way for us to remove those based on the way the system is built. So forgive me, it's just going to be a little bit messy. Marketing is where you go to build your forms. Oh, and let me just touch on surveys real quick. Surveys are like forms that move in sequence. We use the survey for something. We have a survey in our other app called Is Montessori Right for My Child? And let me actually just show you how that looks real quick. Oh, I'm in the wrong app, aren't I? Sorry. Here we go. So, is Montessori right for your child? Question number 1, required. But what's cool about this slide is it has logic. So you can say, if they respond this way, then do this thing. And it gets really robust. And I won't spend too much time on it because there's a tutorial video on it. But I can say, if they respond with this answer, this being multiple choice, then let's move them to slide 4. So they're on slide 2, and I'll skip slide 3. So you might say, you know, how many children do you have that you're interested in enrolling? And if they say 1, then I'll skip the slide that has them enter the information for child number 2, as an example. But this allows you to apply logic. The other thing it allows you to do is disqualify. So in the quiz, is this right for you or not? You can qualify or disqualify. So I can say, you know, if, and we actually did it here. If somebody says that they're looking for an external curriculum taught at specific intervals each day, then we're going to disqualify after they submit because they're not right for what it is that we're looking for. And you can create as many slides as you'd like, and every slide can have its own fields. Don't get overwhelmed, because I know that's a little bit overwhelming from a functional standpoint, but just know that it's available to you. These are just links, helpful links. The members area, please make sure you're taking advantage of this. I'll pull up my version just so you can see it. Everybody here should be a fourth play member because it's, or a first play member, excuse me, because it's free. If you're not a first play member, please go sign up. You can join for free right here. And when you're in the members area, for a limited time, we're making all of our course material absolutely free. And so some of the things that relate back to the CRM, like I mentioned, lead magnets. Well, if you're not sure what to use as a lead magnet, we've got a phenomenal course on lead magnets. So this gets really synergistic very quickly. And then, you know, we've got a lot of coaching and information, but that link will bring you to the members area. If you're using our website builder, this link will bring you to our website builder, and this link brings you to the help center. Barbara's asking, how long does forgot password take? It should be right away. Make sure to check your spam folder, Barbara, and if you can't find it, tag Miso and he'll get it resent for you. Do you provide Autoresponder Series for adolescent programs? We do have an Autoresponder Series. It's in our paid version. It's a pre-written system And I'll show you what that looks like too. So we have this. It's an email nurture, and it's not specifically for, it's not program specific, but you can customize it. So you'll notice that there's 7 emails here, and then a prompt to call. And when somebody opts in, they receive email number 1, and it's pre-written. So you can choose to just have it insert the information about your school, which you add to the CRM, or you can choose to customize it to your heart's content. It includes a lead magnet. And then it moves through this email sequence, and you actually get to define when that happens. So you could say, we have it set at a minute so you can test it, and get all the emails. But you could say, once every 3 days or once every day if you want to be aggressive, whatever it ends up being. And so that is available. And it's also available in our members area to download, I think, for our upper plane members. Any questions about the free version? I want to make sure that we're staying on topic in terms of what it is that we're providing for our members here. The recording is going to be made available. If you're watching the recording and you have questions, please feel free to, I think one of the best ways to do that might be in our Facebook group. Yeah, I apologize for some of the limitations in the free version. There's, some things that we had to slice off. But if there are no other questions, I really appreciate everybody using it. My big ask, actually, the favor that I have of everyone is, let me know how you're using it. Let me know what's working. Let me know what's not working, because you can help us improve on this product for you and for other Montessori schools. I think that this could end up becoming the very first step that we have schools take as they're working to onboard with needle marketing and grow their admissions. I think this is a pretty cool little offering. So really appreciate y'all being our guinea pigs, so to speak. Yeah, we've got a couple minutes left, so I'll just belabor it and make sure that nobody has any burning desires. Everyone's saying thank you. Thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate the resources and sharing them at no cost, especially right now. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Thanks for saying that, Kim. Really appreciate it. We're doing what we can.